Welcome to another commentary video. Today we are going to be discussing the beauty of Omer.
Ömer Adem olsun. Ben bu kadar romantizme alışık değilim. Fazla yüklemeden şu anda küt diye düşüp bayılırım, haberiniz.
Omer is a Turkish Dizi that came out in January 2023, and after a whole year and a few months, it has become my #1 Turkish Dizi ever. It has beat out Fazilet, which was holding the title for my #1, mostly because it is the first Turkish Dizi that I have caught at its beginning that held my interest through the entire first and second season. Now, I'm not saying the story is perfect, but for me and my perspective, Omer has been a beautiful story, and I hope I can convince you by the end of this video that it is a good watch for those who haven't watched it, and convince those who have and were disappointed at some storylines that those storylines were absolutely worth it. That said, why I put Omer as one of the best Turkish Dizis I've actually watched is because it held my attention. When I watched Fazilet, it was at the start of COVID around 2020, after the show had already had its run, so I didn't have that entire tension of what is going to happen the next episodes. The one thing that has killed me of learning about Turkish Dizis is understanding that they release their episodes like they release TV show episodes, one episode a week. I usually watch telenovelas which come out all 5 episodes, 5 days of a week, and then there's recaps on Saturdays and Sundays. But learning that I have to watch 1 episode a day, wait 7 days a week for another one is very, very, very frustrating. And Omer is the only TV show that I watched from the beginning that was able to keep me wanting it coming back every single day of the week. Since being introduced to Turkish Dizis because of Fazilet, I have watched a few more since then, but there are some that I have quit halfway through because the story just didn't do it for me anymore, like Safari, which is another new series I tried to start. It lost me around episode 9. There are others that I didn't start with it, but before they even got to the end of their season 2, which I did catch, I was already losing interest, like the sisters. I don't know how to pronounce their Turkish names, so I won't try. There have been a lot of them, and I will discuss them at the end of this video. I should mention that this entire video is going to be one massive spoiler. I don't know why I don't classify Turkish Dizis or telenovelas as something that can be spoiled, but in case it is for you, this video is going to be a gigantic spoiler. You can skip to the end that will be marked where I would discuss other Turkish Dizis that I have watched. But if you want to watch this on your own, the whole summary of it is Omer is a young man that falls in love with an older woman that moves back into their neighborhood. His father doesn't approve of it, and his father does everything to keep them apart, including forcing him to try and marry someone else that he feels is going to be more worthy of him than who he loves, which is Gamze. And that is basically the entire story. If you don't care for spoilers, continue on watching. If you do, you might want to stop at this point. This and all other commentaries that I make are going to be free on Patreon. If you are interested in seeing others, there are a few that are already up. You can check it out. It is free. Omer will probably be the only commentary I would ever do for my YouTube channel. It's just because I really love this show that I'm putting it on here so, people on YouTube can see it. So if you want to see other commentaries, you can stop by my Patreon. And now we're going to get to the story. Don't forget, you can leave your thoughts in the comments as to how you felt about the story, if I convinced you that it was actually very good, what you agree with and what you don't. Let's get started.
Beni en çok etkileyeni kulelerin aşkı olmuştur.
Kulelerin aşkı mı?
Efsaneye göre Galata Kulesi Kız Kulesi'ne aşık olmuş.
I really like the setting of the story. I don't know the name of the place. I'm not sure if it's a town or a village, but I really liked the setting and how it was used for the story. One of the things I really liked about the setting was the animals and the interaction of some of the characters with the cats. I think Gamze was one of the only characters that interacted with them very often, but Rishat also had a few moments here and there where he would pet the cat. I really like that because I love seeing the strays get love. Where I live, if you go near a stray, it's running away. So the sea cats actually come to you and sit around you, allow you to pick them up. It's a dream come true. I really love that. One of the things that I really love about the setting the most is how it expands, or how it also adds to the story of Omer and Gamze's relationship. When Omer and Gamze used to meet before they got married, even when they were fighting, when they were just talking, when they only wanted to see each other and explain situations, they usually met at the beach, the bench that faces the towers. That place is very populated, but that is usually the point of the beach where they met often, and they would sit on opposite sides of the bench and talk. But after they got married, they still met around the beach, but in places that were not so obviously public. Why do I like this for the setting? Before they got married, they were either in denial of their feelings for each other, just being friends, or respectful because Omer was engaged and she was with Erdal, so they always had that distance between them. The distance they could manage because they were angry with each other, or it was seen as something that they couldn't do. They couldn't be together, so they would meet on that bench and stand so far apart. But after they got married, they didn't have that distance anymore. So they didn't meet at that place where they would have to sit apart because eyes could be watching. They still met on the beach, but the setting kind of expanded to other sides of the beach that we didn't see before when they were not married. Example, after Erdal talked to Gamze about liking Omer, he leaves and they sit so close to each other. You know, she's leaning on him and they're sharing one blanket, enjoying the fire and watching the beach. I don't know where they were, but it was still close to the towers, which they like to look at.
Duymak bile güzel. Son nefesime kadar senin yanında olmak.
And the day after they got married, they met at the usual spot, but it was a bench that was on the other side of the road from where they used to meet. When they were not accepting their love for each other and when they couldn't show it, the setting for their meeting on the beach was only that bench. But after they accepted their relationship and married, the setting for that beach grew bigger with different parts that they would meet just to be able to be together without the judgment of other people's eyes.
Böyle sabaha kadar bakışacak mısınız siz?
Makeup and design was another part of the story that I appreciated even more in season 2. There are different families that are represented in this story. Gamze's family is not as conservative as Omer's family, so they're not going to dress the same way. In Omer's family, he is the youngest male, so he also doesn't dress like his father or his older brother. And Tahir, although he's not his dad's age, he also seems to be dressing like Reshat, which, if you look at it, it's because Tahir always looks like he wants to be his dad. He sucks at it, but the fact that the fashion can convey that and his personality is very good. When it comes to the women, Shukran and Nisa are also part of that conservative family, but they dress differently. Shukran wears gowns and then Nisa wears trousers and a top, but everyone was represented very well. And if you come to Gamze's side, Gamze doesn't dress like her sister, but her sister also doesn't dress like Omer's family, and neither does Gamze's mother. They all have their different fashion sense, and each fashion sense was given good representation. That aside, the clothing for Gamze season 2, don't get me wrong, season 1 was also amazing, but season 2 stepped it up the more. And to talk about Omer, I don't even know if I have to. All his outfits fit. For these two, I don't know if it's them as people or the design team is actually trying to look at what would look best on them. Either way, everyone just looked good. The outfits just work for the setting because it's set as a story of family drama, so no one's dressing feels out of place. Whether they are dressing in the conservative manner or not, the fashion and the makeup just really fit. I loved everything everyone wore.
Bir alkol testi yapalım da senin için rahatlasın.
When I talk about the use of light in this show, I am talking about a specific kind of light. The red light that came on several times when Omer and Gamze are together. The color red can mean different things: longing, desire, love, and sin. which is what their love story is about. Sin because that is what their family sees it as. They don't see why a young man and an older woman with a child divorced should be married. Even his father says it a lot of times. It's a sin. You shouldn't be thinking about this. And when Gamze's sister finds her and Omer together, she tells her that Omer is pure, a good boy, and she should not ruin him. Now, why do I like the red light? The red light doesn't come on very often. It's usually when Omer and Gamze are put in an intimate position, either by themselves or in front of other people. Now, if it's in front of other people, I see that red light as the red light with sin, because they're not supposed to have that love. The particular episode that is an example for this is, I think, episode 6, when Omer and Gamze are with Surya and Nisa's family having dinner, and he passes her by and the lights go red. You see the light vanish as he looks over and stares at Surya. She's also watching this, but while he and Gamze are in the red light, everyone else in the kitchen or in the living room is not. The light is just on them. Then, the red light was also used at the beginning in episode 1 when he and Gamze were alone and he was giving her the heater. As soon as his father comes, the red light vanishes. The moment is broken. After they get married, the light stops. You see, in those things I described, you will see the light visibly go red. But after they get married, that red light, that particular red light disappears, and rather it's just faint red light from either, let's say, the street or a lamp that makes the place red. It's now not that red light. Also, whenever they are having their romantic moments like their wedding, there's always red around. Red in the background, something red on them. When they first slept together, the sheet they had on them was red. When she went to visit him after he had been kicked out of his parents' house, the lamp at the end of Tahir's shop was red, but the red strong hue light was gone. So now it's not them trying to steal little moments. They are just living in their own space, and red now just represents intimacy and their love. I really like that. I don't know if I'm overreading into the use of the light, but it is used again in season 2. In season 2, Gamze is gone, and every time Omer sees her, we see the red light. In this case, it is representing longing, because he wishes she was there, but she isn't. But when Gamze finally returns to him, the light isn't red anymore, showing that it's the real thing. It's actually her that he's seeing. The lights don't go red, but she's wearing red. The red light and its use was really well done to me. I enjoyed seeing it fade away, and I enjoy what I think it implies, because I'm not in the head of the directors or the producers or the writers, but I love how it's used to convey the stages of their relationship.
Niye yaptın ya bana bunu? Ne yaptım ben sana ya? Ben sana ne yaptım?
This one is going to just be filled with examples, because again, I don't know how to pick apart little things about dramas that I watch. It's just what I appreciate, and I really appreciate the acting and the actors. This story was so helped by the actors, and the best way that I could convey that is with different scenes that I like. I'm going to start from my best, then move downwards. Not that they're all top for me, but the ones that hit me more I'm starting with so I can share it with you.
Cevap ver bana.
Çünkü ben artık o eski Ömer değilim. Sen gittin, ben dağıldım Gamze. Ben iğrenç bir adam oldum.
This scene was so beautifully done, with Omer being completely destroyed and Gamze just watching the man that she relied on so much in season 1 be this feeling and looking absolutely helpless, trying her best to reach out to him, and he is just beyond broken. I can't pronounce the actor's real name, so I won't try, but he delivered every line. The one with anger, the one with pain, the one with loss, and the one with finality, amazingly.
Çünkü ben o zaman hep kendimi haklı buluyordum. Ben o zaman kendime hep inanıyordum. Ama ben artık kendime inanmıyorum. Ben artık kendime güvenmiyorum Gamze.
Both of them were broken, but for different reasons. He was broken because he had become someone he didn't recognize and was so filled with shame, and she was broken because she was watching someone she loved and she didn't know how to help. Nothing she said seemed to be working, and the both of them, I don't also know how to pronounce the actress's name, but the both of them took that to the next level. It is my favorite scene to date. And on the topic of Ömer and Gamze, there's something I really appreciate about the acting and the actors. They have a way of conveying being in love with each other. Whether they are fighting or together, whether they are against each other or standing together, they always have a way of conveying that they are in love with each other. When Omer was with Surya and she was with Erdal, you could see the difference in how they treated those two people compared to how they treat themselves. Even at the happy stages of those relationships, when they were trying to make it work, the laughter they would give to Surya or Erdal was not the same laughter they would share with each other. They portrayed the relationship very well, and I really appreciated that in their acting, and the two of them together are just phenomenal. I haven't loved a couple this much since Yaz and Hazan. I love these two together, and the acting is really good. Another scene I like is the scene where Hakan finally tells Gamze's family that Gamze is married to Omer. The reason I like that scene.
Asıl edepsiz senin kızın Gamze.
Yürü içeri.
Ya sus
yürü.
sen bir ya, dur.
Ne diyorsun sen be?
Hakan's actor deserves all the praise for how he portrayed this character in all of season 1. He is telling Gamze's family about the marriage, and Nisa is trying to stop him because you could see the mother knew where it was going. The sister definitely knew where it was going. The husband was clueless. Nisa was trying her best to stop this loudmouth from saying it, and he just said it.
Gamze ile Ömer
Hakan!
evlendi diyorum, evlendi.
Allah seni kahretsin ya.
Another scene is a scene with Nisa's oldest daughter, when she's telling Gamze all about how she doesn't have the life of a normal kid, and she's trying to explain to her that it's what she wants.
Ben de istiyorum böyle arkadaşlarımla sinemaya gideyim, kafelere gideyim, doğum günü partilerine gideyim.
The young actress, she's really good. She had another scene in season 2 after she has been separated from Eda, and she is locked in a room and she's breaking everything, screaming, and they let her out. That girl has been stealing the scenes. The scene where she confronts her father after he asks her about her relationship with Yaman was beautiful.
Sen kimi parçalıyorsun?
O sesini kes!
Yaman annesini alıp götürmeseydi asla dönmezdi bu eve.
He was pushing her around, but she was standing her ground and she was not going to be moved for anything. Those three, Nisa, Hakan, and Emine, whenever they're in a room, I just want to start clapping because they deliver every scene beautifully. The actors are amazing. The actresses are amazing. It's really well done. Oh, before I even forget, I was not going to mention it because it skipped my mind. The scene, and it's not the best scene on terms of safety. The scene where Haluk tries to get Gamze to divorce Omer, or he would take the son in his apartment, and she says no. Beginning to end.
Sen bize ihanet ettin.
Pislik herif. Sen benim hayatımı kararttın.
And then he begins to, unfortunately, strangle her. That scene, I just wanted to reach in and pull him off, but they acted the scene so well. At least I think so. It was amazing. The actors and the acting are one of the things I appreciate, bottom to top, down, under, side by side. The actors did a great job on this series. I loved a lot of scenes and they portrayed a lot of emotions very well. Now we come to the spine of any story, or the brain of any story, however you want to see it. The writing. This is what makes or breaks a story for me. Because you can have a fantastic cast, good, great actors, but if your story is bad, there's only so much I can take. It doesn't really take a lot to please me in a story, but it also doesn't take a lot to make me lose interest completely, which is why we are discussing the writing in the good part of this video, because the writing for Omer was absolutely, in my opinion, good. I would even dare to say great. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the writing, so I'm going to break it up into parts. Our first and possibly our biggest part, obviously, is the relationship between Omer and Gamze. Like I said before, the actors are amazing and they act out their scenes very beautifully, but also the writing for their characters is amazing. We are going to start off with symbolic objects in their relationship. This story was able to keep a lot of objects that were important to Omer and Gamze in the journey of their love and make them significant both in season 1 and in season 2.
Ama yanlış yaptın.
Biliyorum Ömer. Ben tam doğru zamanı bulmuştum. Söyleyecek
Bunu yanlış yaptın.
The first symbol is the scarf. In season 1, Omer ties his scarf a certain way. When Gamze first meets him, she tells him that it's a nice scarf, but she believes he can wear it a different way, in which she proceeds to tie it that different way. And obviously Omer continued to wear the scarf the way she tied it up until the start of episode 4. After she tells him that she cannot be with him, he takes off the scarf, and the next episode he's seen wearing it the same way he was wearing it before he met her, wordlessly saying that he's trying to purge himself of everything that reminds him of her. But I was so surprised and so happy in season 2 when she comes to apologize to him for not telling him about the kid, and she ties the scarf the last way she saw him wear it, which was the way he was wearing it before, and he's like, "You tied it wrong."
Sizin de gözleriniz. Gözleriniz çok iyi.
yani çok güzel demek istedim.
The next objects are the rings and Gamze's engagement necklace.
Bu kolyenin de benim için artık bir önemi yok.
Tak şunu.
Takamam. Koptu. Geri takılmaz.
When they first get married, obviously Gamze doesn't want Omer to tell anyone, so she has him hide the rings, in which he hides it on a shoelace. And for the duration of season 1, you see them always looking at these objects when they are thinking, when they are alone, when they want to feel close to each other. In season 2, however, Omer gives the rings back to Gamze when he's trying to get her to realize that being together is not good for either of them, but she doesn't accept the rings. And with her engagement necklace, she cuts it off her neck and gives it to Omer. Now, these two scenes are very different. Omer gives Gamze the rings, but she doesn't take them. But when she cuts off her necklace, he tries to make her put it back on, but she tells him the reasons she doesn't want to put it back on. And unlike Gamze, he takes the engagement necklace and he leaves. I feel like that was Omer accepting that in trying to save her from what he thought he had become, which was a miserable drunk, he did more damage to her heart and her trust in him than he realized. So him taking the necklace was him accepting his fault, and he fixed it. But when he gives the necklace back, he doesn't give it to her when she's awake, and he doesn't give it to her in a point where he can see her make the decision to wear it. But when she wakes up, she sees the necklace, she puts it back on. This is their relationship being slowly built up.
Takmışsın.
Tamir etmek kolay olmadı ama.
Çok uğraştım. Onarmak kolay olmuyormuş, anladım ama.
And it finally gets to the peak when he takes her to the store and gives her the rings. Again with the setting, he even says that he could have taken her anywhere. The beach, which meant a lot to them, Taji's shop where they met, but he's taken her to the hair salon because this was the place where he hurt her the most. And it's the place he wants to rewrite the story by giving the rings to her. And finally, after a whole season, these two are wearing the rings on their fingers.
İnsanların bakışlarından hiç mi rahatsız olmuyorsun ya? Kim bilir neler düşünüyorlar sizi böyle yan yana görünce.
Ne düşündükleri hiç umurumda değil.
There are also some parallels between Omer and Gamze from season 1 and season 2 that I really enjoyed seeing. In season 1, Gamze is the weaker part of their relationship, where she is the one that is riddled with all this doubts and all these confusions, where she is not sure about their relationship. When anything comes forward, she shakes a bit, but Omer was always steadfast and strong in what he had to do, the things he had to fight, the people he had to face. Omer was always confident of his choices, while Gamze was always wishy-washy in and out. Even towards the end, when Gamze started gaining some strength and some confidence in their relationship, where she was standing up to her mom and even reassured about their relationship, Gamze still had some doubts. But when she came back in season 2, everything was flipped on its head. Omer had lost himself, and everything that he had believed in and fought for, he lost. And because of that, he became a drunk, and he was also not as confident in their relationship as he was when he started. So this was when Gamze's strength began to show. Unlike in season 1, she didn't just give up and decide that she was going to let her relationship or her marriage die. She didn't have the doubts that she had in season 1. She stood up to even Omer for their relationship. She stood up to Rishot. When she came back, not only her family, but even his family had turned against her. Nisa, who she had trusted and had been her friend and confidant throughout season 1, even started to blame her for the problems that Omer had gone through and what they had faced. Of course, she had no relationship with Tahir at that point, but Gamze didn't back down. She stood up to even Tahir when he tried to suggest that she wasn't a part of the family. We saw Gamze doing something she didn't do a lot in season 1, which was fight for her relationship.
Kimim ben? Ailesiyim ben. Karısıyım onun. Karısıyım, karısı.
I thought it was a really good writing decision that put both Omer and Gamze on level ground to go on for the rest of the series.
Seninle bir ömür geçirmek istiyorum. Tuna ve senle bir aile olmak istiyorum.
Finally, in season 2, we get to see Omer and Gamze grow as a couple and as individuals. It also answers a few of the worries that Gamze had in season 1, while keeping to the promise that Omer made in season 1 as well. The fear for Gamze was that they didn't know each other that well. They were in love, yes, but they didn't have the time to dig into each other's flaws and characteristics when they got married, and she was afraid that they would not survive because of it. Omer and Gamze are different individuals. They have their own beliefs, they have their flaws, they have their strengths, and they have their weaknesses. Gamze and Omer decided that they were going to give their marriage an honest try, and this means that they would have to face all their problems, go through all their flaws together, and that is what they did. Gamze and Omer are the backbone and the strength of their families. So they're going through a lot as a married couple in season 2, where they're not only trying to build a family with each other, but they're also trying to maintain their family. Their marriage is filled with doubts, they have their fears and they have their flaws, and we get to see them work through this as a team. I personally think they have grown far more than they were in season 1, because season 1, they loved what they saw on the outside. They loved the characteristics that they saw on the surface. But everyone has an underlying characteristic that can also make or break their relationship. For Gamze, her problem is trying to handle a lot of situations on her own and also overthinking. Gamze overthinks a lot, and she also tries to solve a lot of problems by herself. And Omer's was, I think, pride and jealousy. As a couple in season 2, they were learning a lot, and I feel like it was a really good thing to show, because they didn't get to learn these things in season 1. It's now that they're married and now that they're together, they're learning boundaries. They're learning, okay, maybe don't take a joke too far. When you see it's going too far, relent and apologize. When you see you've made a mistake and you've done something that has hurt the other person, don't make excuses. Another example for that I would like to use is in season 1, Omer was really jealous about her look, and when Gamze called him out on it and told him that his jealousy was too much, he apologized and said that it was because he loved her a lot.
İnsan çok sevince işte. Bazen böyle olabiliyor demek.
But in season 2, when his jealousy nearly cost her her job, he doesn't say, oh, it's out of love for her. He apologizes and says that he's going to learn to be better.
Ama sırf yanımda olmanı istediğim için.
Ben senin hep yanındayım Ömer.
Daha fazlasını istedim. Bencillik ettim belki.
We also get to see Gamze grow out of her overthinking and out of her trying to handle things herself. In season 1, she tried to carry the burden of her look and her can by herself, and it never ended well. In season 2, it didn't change. The best example I'm going to use is the issue with the kid.
Ömer daha gencecik oğlan be. Yarın bir gün çocuk istese ne yapacaksın?
You could see Gamze was actually sad about the fact that she might not be able to give Omer a kid. When Vijdan teased her about it, saying she was too old, and then it happened. But instead of being happy, Gamze's first thing was to overthink. She always does this. She did it in season 1. After Omer offered to marry her, she overthought and said no. She did it in season 1 when Omer came to her door. Yes, she overthought again and said no. And she did it again in season 2 with the kid that she was sad she would never have. She has, and now she's overthinking. But I'm going to not only talk about how she overcame this, but also how it showed their growth as a couple. One thing about Omer and Gamze is that they're usually facing problems. I've mentioned it before. If not by themselves, it's from their family. But in season 2, they get to learn how to handle that. In this episode, when Omer finds out from someone else, he's obviously upset, and Gamze goes to apologize because she knows that she waited too long to tell him, and now it's out the way she didn't want it to be out. But he forgives her and he starts talking enthusiastically about the kid, but she's not enthusiastic. She is panicking. She's overthinking, as she usually does.
Korkunun üstüne korku katıyorsun, o kadar.
Tamam.
This is what I mean by growth in their relationship. As soon as Omer sees that she is going off the rails, as in she's overthinking to the point of stress, he pulls back from his side and tries to get her to calm down. So she allows Omer to get some of the stress off her shoulders and tries to move on from her fears and accept the happiness that she feels with having the child.
Hiç korkmuyorsun değil mi?
Benim tek bir korkum var. O da bu korkuların size zarar vermesi.
Now, this didn't always happen. There were moments when they didn't do this, where they weren't able to find common ground. But for the most part, I liked that about their relationship. I liked seeing them trying to help each other, even if they didn't agree with each other's behaviors or attitudes or decisions. That was a good thing to see. And it was really nice to see them grow as a family despite the problems, despite the fights, despite the separating, getting back together. It was good to see them go through their troubles and also grow into each other's families. The characters in this show are amazing to me because I have a thing when I watch TV shows and telenovelas and even Philippine teleseries that I can either care about the main couple and the side stories with the side characters or supporting characters do not matter to me at all, or the main couple doesn't have any interest for me and I find myself leaning towards the side characters a little more. Omer is the only show where I care about every character. I mean, there's 2 that came in season 2 that I didn't care for, but they are the only ones. Aside from those 2, and I will talk about them later, every single character in this show has a meaning, has a story. And why this is important is because, and I calculated for the purpose of this, Omer and Gamze have about 30 to 35 minutes together every episode from season 1 to season 2. But the scenes where they are present as individuals and as a couple together would add up to an hour 30 minutes, an hour 40 minutes tops. That leaves the remaining 1 hour for the other side characters to have their own story. Now, I appreciate that when the storyline isn't about Omer and Gamze specifically, the writers still put enough effort to make the story interesting. When it's about Shukran and what she's going through, when Gamze is not there, and maybe it's just Nisa, or it's her and her kids, or it's her and Tahir, and there's no lick of Gamze or Omer to hold the story at that point, I appreciate that the story still holds on its own. If they take away Shukran, Tahir and their family to make an entire new show, that story will still hold. The same thing that happens with Hakan and Nisa and their kids and their life. If you take away Omer and Gamze, those stories still hold. So the 1 hour or the 1 hour 10 minutes that Omer and Gamze are not the center of a particular scene, feels good to be able to watch a show and still care to know what is going on. If you take out Gamze and Omer from the story, there is still so much I can love about it in terms of the writing, in terms of the storylines. I mentioned Shukran. Shukran in season 1 was an interesting character. You could see a little speck here and there of when she would show her distaste for how her husband treats her, and you could see how Tahir didn't really register these things. So it was no surprise where their relationship went in season 2. You see Shukran building her relationship with Reshat as well, because if you see in season 1, Reshat usually allowed Tahir to get away with a few things. For example, Tahir found a phone that Shukran had gotten their children and he breaks it. When Omer tries to confront him about it, Reshat tells Omer to allow Tahir handle his family how he sees fit. But in season 2, while he still tries to save Tahir's marriage, we see that he cares a lot about what is happening to Shukran as well, and tries to make sure that she is not also being sacrificed just to keep his son's marriage intact. The writing for Tahir was one of my favorite things because I love to hate him. And I also like how they don't just show him change at once. They show that he has the potential to change. As in when he sees what became of Reshat and his brother, he goes to Omer and tries to prevent the same from happening, but he just can't help himself falling into bad behavior when his jealousy kicks in, and his jealousy for Omer is just out of place. Now, Tahir isn't all bad. You can see when he is faced with drastic change that he also shows the love he has for his family. But when things don't go his way, or when it looks like all is lost, it's like his first thought is to go into this overdrive of emotion. You could see him flushing his life down the toilet with each and every consecutive action. His desire to be proven the best in his family, to be accepted by his dad, who obviously accepts him, is what drove him to all the things that he did. Because Reshat never asked for all the proof he was trying to submit. It was so funny that Vishdan, who came in heated, learned her lesson faster than Tahir, who never had to go through what she had to go through because of his lie. Another thing the writing deserves a salute for is that 95%, maybe I'm being too generous, but 95% of what happens has a reason that you can link to. Now, I'm not going to exempt every happening in this story as, oh, it's perfect and can be explained away, because obviously this show is not perfect, but I appreciate that most of it can be something I can accept. And this show became one of my favorites because of it. I love Gamze and Omer so much, but I also appreciate that if you pull them aside, the story can still hold on its own. That's what makes an enjoyable story for me. Now that we're done with all of that, we are going to go to some of the things that I found bad about the story. If I talk about the good, I have to be fair and point out the parts that I didn't like. So we're going to start with 3 plot lines. And those 3 plot lines are the storyline with Vishdan, Attila, and the Sheikh. I want to add before I go forward that me saying this is bad, it's the first one on the list because I don't actually find their storylines to be bad. What I find bad is that they ran all 3 at the same time. I personally believe that the story would have been better if they chose only 1 or 2 of the stories, but all 3 was too much. Let's look at the storylines individually so I can show you what I found really good about each one.
Kızım. Reşat Efendi, kol kanat gelmişsin gelinine.
Vicdan, laflarına dikkat et.
Bütün garezin bana mıydı be?
Our first storyline is a story about Vishdan. The reason I wanted to see her is because of this particular scene.
Seviyormuş. Ya tabii. Bir Ömer'le Nisa sevdiğiyle evlenebiliyor zaten bizim evde.
You could see on Shukran's face that she understood the meaning of the words that he said, and she was personally hurt by them. Since that moment, I wanted Vishdan to show up, and as I've mentioned before in the video about Tahir, her showing up exposed so much about Tahir's original character, which I liked. Now, on the case of her coming back, she wants revenge against the family after a while because she believes that it's where her life started going wrong because of Omer's family. But it also shows that she is envious of the relationship between Omer and Gamze, which contradicts her earlier words where she acts like she doesn't want or need anyone in her life to do anything for her because she's so used to being alone. But when you see her looking at Omer and looking at the pictures of Gamze that he draws and looking at the interactions, you get the sense that she was envious of the relationship because no matter what she said, she wanted someone to love. This story was really good. It was a good addition because it picks up on a lot of things that were mentioned in season 1. I love that they brought her in, and I liked the way the story went at most parts, but not all. We'll get to that later.
Eda'yı klip çekimi var diye çağırmışlar. Sonra Eda'yı bayıltıp fotoğraflarını çekmişler.
With Attila, his storyline was not something I was expecting, but it's something I was proud to see because it shined so much light on Eda's character development from season 1. I don't know how much of you remember season 1 Eda, but she was a menace. She had a jealousy issue with Emine once in a while, where a guy she liked would be talking or trying to flirt with Emine and she would, be jealous and begin to speak badly about her. She is the reason the entire family found out about Yaman the way they did. Not only that, she had this rebellious nature. I think it's coming from her father's oppressive behavior, where she would want to do things she knows he wouldn't like just to do them. You see Shukran warn her about her hair, tie it up, about her skirt, pull it down. At some point, Shukran got her children a phone to share, but Tahir found out and smashed it and she didn't get them anything anymore. But Eda got her hands on a phone and Shukran found it. She scolded the girl and asked her if she knew how much trouble she would be in if her father ever found out. Even worse, Eda was sending pictures of herself to the boy that she liked. When Tahir finally found the phone, he overreacted as he usually did, but he didn't find all the other things that were on that phone. I feel like when she was crying in that season, it was more for being caught than being sorry, which is why I like the introduction of Attila in season 2.
Pardon, tabii kendimi tanıtmadım. Atilla ben. Eda.
Eda Ademoğlu.
In season 2, Eda is obviously going through a lot. She goes back to her destructive ways as a retaliation when she feels like her family is falling apart. But this time in season 2, Eda doesn't get the easy way out. The easy way out for her in season 1 is that she didn't get the chance to process all her mistakes. Instead, she just had her grandfather swoop in and save her. But this time, on her own, she had to analyze what she had done to get herself to that position. And the regret she felt in season 2 was overall regret. Not because someone caught her, not because her dad was going to marry her off, not because her grandfather or her mother would be ashamed, but because she was ashamed of her choices. And she also saw that her actions can have severe consequences, not just for her, but for her family. I mentioned season 1. She was against Emine a lot, and it's because of the video she took that Emine went through all that she went through with Yaman. In season 2, Emine is again in danger because of her, and this time she acknowledges that it's her fault and she regrets it. I really like that storyline. It remembered what Eda was like in season 1 and brought her to a point where she was there again with higher stakes, and this time she got to see her mistake, understand it, be ashamed for it, and become a better person because of it.
Çünkü amacı beni mahvetmek. Ailemi, her şeyimi elimden almak.
Our third and final plot point that was brought in season 2 is the story of the Sheikh, who we later find out is Rishat's brother. Now, this is not the strongest of the plots, but I also like it because it also goes back to season 1 and Rishat as a character. Rishat is someone who does what he believes is right. Sometimes it is right, and other times it is not. And obviously those will always have consequences. So I'm not surprised that he did something that while he was young that he believed was right, but in the end his brother didn't appreciate what he did. What Rishat did was right to him, but because the brother suffered for it, he harbored jealousy and he harbored anger and hatred in his heart for Rishat. It wasn't really a bad storyline. I liked it. I liked all three, as I mentioned. I liked the writers for the show. I guess not everyone might have appreciated everything they did, but I really appreciated all the stories they brought in, because if you look at season 1, there's a prospect for every single storyline that came in.
Hak etmiyorsun onu. Sen mi hak ediyorsun? Hadi söyle. Şu kadarcık cesaretin varsa söyle hadi, artık dalavere yapma.
Now that we're done with what was not completely bad, let's talk about what was completely awful. The siblings. These two were the worst addition to the story ever. Mainly because they were absolutely pointless. I can replace every important scene the siblings were in with another one that could have been there, and you wouldn't feel their absence at all. Before I go on, I'm going to do exactly that. The brother, Sule's brother, telling Omer about the baby could have been done by hundreds of other people, because Gamze wasn't telling Omer out of fear. Her mother could have blurted it out. Her sister could have said it out of fear. Maybe even Tuna could have found the pregnancy test and showed it to Omer. The part where Sule tells Omer that Gamze has gone to the hospital could have been done by anyone else. Someone that saw her walk by, like Nisa. Maybe she was worried about her and she followed her. Her sister, her mom. The brother telling Gamze about the house being repossessed would not even have needed to happen at all. It would have still been fine if Gamze and Omer were in the house talking to the father and these three men came in to kick them out. The siblings were absolutely useless. I really disliked them. But another reason I found them to be so completely unnecessary is also because we have seen these characters before in season 1. We saw them in Süreyya and Erdal. But unlike the siblings, those two characters had a purpose in the story.
Tuna'yı da Gamze ablayı da merak etme artık.
Ne demek istiyorsun sen Süreyya?
Bundan sonra Gamze ablayla görüşmeni istemiyorum Ömer.
The purpose being, if Omer didn't give in to be engaged to Süreyya, he definitely would have gotten over his heartbreak of Gamze telling him she couldn't marry him, and he would have gone back to pursuing her. Erdal being involved was conflict. Those two had purpose. Even more, when he broke up with her, Süreyya served to bring more conflict into their relationship because she accused Omer of many things. If you took those two out of the story, there is no way Gamze and Omer didn't get together episode 7. The siblings had no importance. Without them, this story would still have been as long because of the 3 plots that I mentioned earlier. The story had enough. It didn't need these two. It is the reason I dislike them the most. I have heard it said before that annoying characters are worse than villains, and with these two, I cannot even agree more.
Şey de hiç belli olmuyor, böyle yandan olduğu için.
Ne belli olmuyor?
Yani gören yaşıt zanneder o anlamda.
Let's talk about their annoying acts. Sule's brother. Unfortunately, I can't pronounce his name even though I've heard it 1,000 times. So I'm going to be calling him Sule's brother for the duration of this video. Now, don't get me wrong. Sule was also very crazy. And she obviously was worse than the brother because she would stalk Omer to his working place, making all these things just to get him to stay in her life. So I could tell she was dangerous. But at least for her, I could excuse her with madness. She was crazy. But her brother was always painting himself as to be the normal one, where he'll tell Gamze to be wary of her sister and keep Omer far away, but him in his normal mind found it normal to send a married woman flowers around midnight to congratulate her for moving out of her husband's house. And not to talk of the audacity of him, just like Sule, to tell Gamze and Omer they don't deserve each other. Sule tells Gamze she doesn't deserve Omer, and the brother tells Omer he doesn't deserve Gamze. They were so annoying. So the combination of them being annoying and unnecessary just made them difficult to watch, because every time they opened their mouth, I didn't understand if I was supposed to care.
Kim bilir şimdi nasıl yıkıyor beynine. Kıskanıyor. Ben onu daha iyi anlıyorum diye, daha çok ortak noktamız var diye, daha yakınız diye dayanamıyor kadın buna.
Not only were they absolutely useless, they were annoying and they also took time away from other storylines. 1. Tuna and Omar's relationship. In season 1, Tuna gets angry with Omer and Gamze because they got married without telling him. I personally feel he didn't hate Omer and he didn't want Omer to be just his teacher, like he said at the finale of season 1, because when Gamze was about to marry Erdal, he himself said that if she was marrying Omer, he would have accepted it more than marrying Erdal. So he didn't hate the fact they were married. I'm sure his dad twisted everything to make it look like maybe Omer was taking advantage of him to get close to mom, which obviously would hurt him because he likes Omer. And also the fact that they didn't think he was old enough to handle them being married. They didn't trust him to sit him down and tell him the truth. So obviously he would be upset. And when Tuna finally came back after the whole year, Omer was not himself. His relationship with Gamze took a hit, but his relationship with Tuna also took a hit too. And they could have used the time they were given to the siblings to have Omer build his relationship with Tuna. I like the fact that they did in the end have Omer go back to being a teacher, but I wish it happened earlier in the series. Sule's gallery was not needed. Omer could have gone to school to teach art, and he could have reconnected with Tuna with art. Instead, they gave him this other child for him to be painting with, and I really hated that. The gallery was unnecessary. That child should have been Tuna. It should have been Tuna and him rebuilding their relationship. They needed time for that relationship, and they took the time away to give to the siblings for nothing. In season 2, we had 2 divorces and 1 marriage. Thank God it wasn't 3 divorces. I cannot be happier. But Shukran and Nisa were getting divorced, while Rishat was remarrying. This is a lot of change for one family. I wish they focused more on this. On Shukran getting herself together, figuring out if she still loved Tahir and if there was any hope for their marriage, focusing on her restaurant and growing it, loving herself more and taking care of her kids. I really wish they had given more time to this than the siblings, because you could see Nisa and Shukran grow together. They weren't really too close in season 1, even to the point where Shukran didn't want Nisa to move in because she thought it was unnecessary, her house was too small. But now in season 2, you see them sleeping over, you see them talking, you see them getting close together as sister-in-laws, and it was amazing. As a family that was going through a lot, they still also had to deal with Vijdan, they had to deal with Attila, they had to deal with the Sheikh. It was going to be nice to see them grow, because in season 1 they were this really dysfunctional and separated family that were getting close together towards the end. And now they're in this very difficult position, but instead of being dysfunctional and separated, they're coming together to help each other to grow. And that would have been a beautiful thing to see more of. I mentioned the 3 plot lines, and they suffered a lot because of the inclusion of the siblings. Vijdan's vengeance didn't really take as much shine as it should have. It should have been a great focus, even more than the drama with the siblings, because she was also going through a lot. She blamed Omar's family for a lot of things, while she was also guilty of raising her child in a hostile environment, and she had a lot to learn, she had a lot to change from. Eda had a lot of things also to work out with her family, and also the story with the Sheikh. The story with the Sheikh suffered the most, because I felt that they could have made him even more of a threat if they gave him more time on screen instead of the siblings. They could have made so much of that story better if they had given it more time. Honestly, I mentioned earlier with the 3 plot points that I didn't like that they all ran at the same time. It's because of these 2 that I don't like that. If the 3 plots had happened without the siblings being in the story, they would be in the writing section. They would be in good. All 3 storylines had a point. If they weren't in it, those 3 plots were amazing to take the story on for the entire season 2. If there's anything that comes with watching a drama or any show that has drama as part of the main genre, it is to expect over-dramatic events. And over the years, I have watched a lot of things that fall under the drama category, from telenovelas to Philippine teleseries to recently Turkish disease, even a bit of K-drama, you would always expect that they have a higher level of drama because that is the genre that they fall under. So I am no stranger to drama, and because I have watched a lot of these things, I am very forgiving when the show has its dramatic scenes, because there's dramatic and then there's overly dramatic, and even some overly dramatic events I am even forgiven for. But I spoke a lot about the good in writing for this show. To give it some balance, I decided to point out a little bit of the things that were bad for me, and it's mostly because I feel like the writers were relying on the drama that these things will bring. The baby and also the house. These were two things I wanted to be a happy occasion. I mentioned the 3 plot lines and even the siblings. Those are 5 people that are causing drama already. In fact, 6 if you add Tahir. There was no need to make every single scenario a dramatic event. The only thing that wasn't dramatic, and thankfully wasn't ruined before it was over, was Omer giving Gamze her ring. They could have made this getting their apartment a happy milestone for them, having them move in only to have the father and the grandmother lose their house. I wouldn't have minded. They could have gotten their house and the whole world could have fallen apart the next second. I wouldn't have minded. The second thing is the baby. I don't mind that Gamze initially didn't tell Omer. It's something I've seen happen a lot because they were going through a tough time and she was having her doubts. But after Omer convinces her to accept the kid, I hate, with a capital H, that they didn't leave the kid alone. That kid went through a lot. First, Tahir throws her against the door, and then she has to find out that she has a delicate pregnancy, and even more after that is the pregnancy is not just delicate, it is life-threatening. And I was sitting there like, you made them get in their house a sad story. Now you want to make them get in their kid a sad story? I get you want drama, I get you want suspense, I get you want thrill, but you have 6 people giving you this. It would not be less of a show if you take a break. They could have just gone on to have Gamze watch the people around her with kids suffer and still doubt and wonder about her kid without having to make an entire storyline with the fear of losing the kid. It didn't need to happen. Even worse, Omer didn't even think of having a kid. He accepted Tuna as his son, and he was ready for that relationship to build into an actual father-child, father-son relationship, only for Gamze to tell him he's going to have his kid too. So that's 2 children. Omer is happy. Omer is shopping for clothes. It could be a girl. And then you get him to sit there and listen to the doctor tell him that the child he's so happy for, that he spent a day plus convincing his wife to accept, is now not only killing her, but could also die. So now he has to sit there and convince his wife to get rid of the child that he just got happy for. He literally just found out. Gamze knew for I think a day or 2. He just found out. The second day he learned there was too much pressure on her life because of the kid. By the 3rd day he was learning, yeah, there's too much pressure on her life because of the kid. I could have banged my head against walls for that storyline. I can't tell you just how annoyed that made me, especially with the involvement of Struli. I am so glad that her brother had left by this point. If I heard him make one more derogatory remark about Omer, I would have lost my mind. And if I heard him come to give Gamze his support too, I would have thrown myself somewhere. But the fact that they made him leave and they didn't make him drag his sister away after they made him preach just how much he was worried about her health. That's what I told you when I said I hate the brother more. He's a liar. And he's one of the people I would use hypocrite on. He was looking down on his sister for her trying to force a relationship with Omer when he was doing the exact same thing. And then he was always telling Gamze how it's only his sister's health he cares about, not trying to make any problem for Omer. But as soon as he has the chance to leave, he doesn't care about her enough to force her to come with him. He didn't take Omer away, so he didn't take away her problem. He didn't take Gamze away, so he didn't take away the person that she could hurt. But So what was he saying all this time? What rubbish was coming out of his mouth? I've talked too much on this, so I'm going to move on. But I will say, the baby and the house, two things I was highly disappointed to find out they made a dramatic event. They could have just made it something peaceful in all the mess that was going on. Just, hey, we have a new house. Let's celebrate. And then her mom can come and spit all the venom she usually comes to spit. Hey, we have a kid. But I'm not sure about it should have been where the drama for the child ended. As I mentioned in the beginning, when it comes to drama, soap operas, I am not really surprised when the writers become overdramatic. It seems like a tactic they usually use to either stretch out the series, or they feel like if the main couple is not surrounded or drowning in problems, the series would lose its element of tension or suspense, and maybe people will stop watching. I don't know why they do this. It happens in Yargai a lot between Jalen and Ilgaz. Every season there's a reason for them to separate and fight for a long amount of time. I don't understand this choice, but the reason it disappoints me in Omer is because I hoped that because of how good the writing is overall, they wouldn't fall into the space of this trap of, okay, maybe we have to have them have more problems or else people would stop watching or it wouldn't be as interesting, when they already have many problems going on. Omer and Gamze are very empathetic people. They don't sit back while things go wrong with other people. So when things are wrong with Omer's family, Gamze would not let him stay with her. She'd rather he goes and helps his family. When things are wrong with Gamze's family, Omer tries to help out. So obviously, with things going wrong with both of their families at different points in time, they have enough drama going on to drag this series as long as they want. And then you can have Omer and Gamze try to be at peace, even if it's just for 2, 3, 4 episodes. It doesn't take out of the story for me if they're not drowning in trouble, because they have other things to worry about. So that's why I really do not like that they made the baby and they made the house issues to cause drama, because at both times there were other things going on that they could have focused on, and at least let these two things be happy moments. The writers could have chosen to be different in this, and that is why it isn't bad, because while their writing was good overall, they still fell into this trap of, let's make everything tension, let's make everything suspense, let's give them as little peace as possible, which was not a good writing choice in my opinion. That said, Omer is still my favorite TV show till date. I loved everything about it, highly because of the actors and most of the writing. Omer and Gamze's actors are amazing. It would be great for me to see them in something else. I would love that. Of course, as a couple, not just that they act in the same series. I would love to see them in something else. Their dynamic is really beautiful. I love the relationship they built around the story. I enjoyed watching their families, the highs and the lows. Even the people that annoyed me managed to be important, except the siblings. I will not take that back. They were annoying and they were not important. But that said, overall, this was a beautiful series for me. I am going to keep watching it over and over as much as I can. There is more to enjoy than there is more to be angry about, so I love this series. Now, because I've mentioned Turkish disease a lot, I want to add a little bit about the ones I've already seen. I will be splitting these into 3 parts: the good, maybe, and bad. For the shows that I watch, I measure them on rewatchability. Can I rewatch this 2 days from now, 10 days from now, 3 months, 4 months, a year? So the shows that are in good are shows that no matter what time it is of the day, I can go back and rewatch from the start, from the middle, from the end, and enjoy every aspect all over again. For the maybe, it shows that fall on not good and not bad, but they have a little something that can make me rewatch them, unlike the bad shows. For the bad shows, I don't want to watch them. A few of them, I couldn't even finish the story. And the ones that I did finish, at the end, I just felt like I robbed myself of time. Thank you for listening. You can comment below what you think about the series. Share your thoughts about the characters, the story, the writing, and the things you thought were not necessary, what you really loved and what you didn't. Here is a playlist of all the videos I've made from 2023 till now regarding this couple because of this series. You can go through them and enjoy the story all over again with me. Check out my Patreon for more commentary if you're interested. I discuss Turkish disease and TV shows and movies over there, as well as animation. If you're interested, you can join for free. Thank you so much for listening to this very, very long video, and I will see you on the next one.